Before we get started, it is really important to mention here that please get in contact with your payers before you make any adjustments to your accounts. See what they're requiring, manage your account based on what they are requiring and what works best for your organization. So we have a couple options here of how you can set up your CentralReach account. And to begin, we're gonna talk about how we can add modifiers to service codes. And I'm also gonna go ahead and show you what that would look like for your direct employees converting these appointments into billing entries. And then we're gonna go into how we can audit these locations and possibly modifiers when you are getting in the process of billing. Now, again, it's really important to remember to please contact your payers, consult with your team before you make these changes, just to see what is gonna work for you all and how you can successfully bill out to these payers. So let's go here. I am logged into my main account for CentralReach. Now, this is permission-based, so if you do not see the options that I am showing you now, please contact your administrator and they can help you out. Again, I'm not gonna show every single step for the sake of time, but we do have help.centralreach.com here. If you need any more assistance on the step-by-step, just go ahead and type in what you're looking for here and you'll be provided with either articles or webinars, right? So to add a modifier to your service code, you're gonna wanna head to the billing section and service codes, select the service code that you are going to add these modifiers for, that your insurance has given to you for. And in this case, I'm gonna do 97151. All right, this brings me to my fee schedules. We kind of set it up already for the sake of time, but I will show you how to add one for the telehealth. Now, something to note here, if you do only have one modifier linked to this fee schedule, it's automatically going to default to that modifier when any patient has Blue Cross Blue Shield in this example. So we went ahead and provided other types of services that are used with this service code, just in case after the fact you guys start seeing some at home, office, or school, you'll still have the option to use those as well instead of telehealth. So let's go ahead and add a telehealth modifier right now. And again, please get in contact with your payer. This all will come down to what they are requiring. We've seen quite a few different things, but you'll go ahead and click that gear sign to the right of the service code, fee schedule, I'm so sorry, and add modifier group. This is where you're gonna name it. We recommend, if it's in telehealth, to do all caps, kind of just to put it out there. It's up to you though. It's completely up to you guys if you guys wanna put it on caps for them to really see it. And then again, the location. If they are requiring a location, you can come here and go ahead and select that 02 telehealth. And once again, if they are not requiring modifiers, you do not have to put this. Again, listen to your payers. If they do, you'll go ahead and add that modifier here, and then the rates that they agreed for you to pay for those services. If they did not have agreed rates or you don't have agreed rates turned on, please just make this the same as billed rates. Do not leave this blank. Do not put 0. Go ahead and fill it out with something. In this specific example, we're gonna say 90. All right, so now I have my telehealth modifier on my service code. Now let's go see what that looks like for a direct employee converting these appointments. And if you're an RVT joining us today, this will be a good spot for you to pay attention to this screen and see what this is gonna look like for you and the steps that you're gonna need to take. All right, so we have Caroline here. She's our RVT. She already had a schedule with miles. What I did here, and it's completely optional for you all, I just went ahead and put in the appointment name that this is gonna be telehealth. If you didn't set a place of service in your fee schedule, don't forget, you can also come here and do that as well. or it can also be done during conversion, which I will show you in just a second. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and convert my appointment. And notice here, I didn't have to do anything different with the appointment. I just added the modifier. I didn't have to change anything with the service code. It still is what it is from the authorization, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and convert. And this is what my RVT would see during conversion. They're gonna see all the 4 that we had originally linked to it. And in this case, we're gonna go ahead and use this telehealth modifier. All right, now it already pulled my location for me. But something to note here, if you all didn't want to change anything with your service codes, you can always have your RVTs pick during conversion. Now, again, this is going to require some training and probably a little bit more auditing, but it is an option if you guys didn't want to make any changes, drastic changes to your account. That's always an option. Just keep that in mind. But you can designate it so that it pulls in for the RVT and they don't have to do anything. All right, so this is where they can come and pick, so if needed. All right, I'm going to save my entry. Now I'll head back to my main account here. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead till billing. And again, if you don't see this in your account, it's just permission-based. Please contact your administrator, all right? Okay, so we'll see telehealth location. And something to note here, if you know from a certain date that only telehealth was provided, go ahead and pick that date. So let's say from March 20th, I know here on out, I'm only doing telehealth services. You can actually go ahead and audit those locations by clicking this list sign right here. Anything that isn't telehealth, you can go ahead and edit and fix within the timesheet, right? Or you can always fix it when inside the claim. Again, for the sake of time, I won't show you that, but if you have been dealing with claims, go ahead and generate the claim and edit the claim and head to the services tab. And there you can also change the location as well. If you did have modifiers within that fee schedule, in our example, we didn't, but see this example we did up here, but for Ethan, but for Miles, we didn't. So we don't have any modifiers. So if you know that there isn't going to be a modifier and you see some here, you can go ahead and remove that here. You don't actually have to go inside the timesheet. All right. And if it was supposed to have a modifier, then you can go ahead and put that modifier here and then generate the claim. Okay, so that's one option. And I did want to mention every option comes with their own pros and cons. So let's take a look at the pros here for this specific option of adding a modifier. So it is going to be a faster setup. It doesn't require a new code to be added. It doesn't require the new code to be added to an authorization. And it doesn't require you to update any appointments. And we're also going to have a faster breakdown, because what we can do after this is all said and done and all my appointments have been converted from telehealth, I can come back to my service code screen. I can head to that fee schedule and I can delete the modifier. And now it'll not be there for them to pick. Okay, so those are some pros that we have for this specific option. The cons would be that you would need to complete a detailed training for your direct employees so they can learn how to convert the appointment correctly. And the providers must select the correct modifier. And reporting doesn't look too different other than that telehealth location that I mentioned, and then auditing the modifiers during the claim generation. So those are just some pros and cons for this setup. Again, this will all dictate based on your payer and based on what works well for your organization. And we will stop for just about a minute and let Adam answer some questions out loud that you guys may have had. So Adam, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah, so a lot of supplemental questions, really good stuff. If you wouldn't mind, Janine, could you pull back up the live system that you have open?
Of course.
First question that we had, let's hit it just real basic. How do you get here?
Okay. So we get here by clicking the billing icon, which is the money sign, and heading to service codes. Now remember that is permission-based. It should be settings managed under the billing section of the permissions module. If you don't have that, contact your administrator. And then you can, there's two ways. The easiest way is to get, find the service code you want to edit and click the number under the default rates, or you can always go to the gear sign and show default rates. All right.
Perfect. And then questions about, a lot of people ask, do you have to specify a POS code here? So for example, we have the modifier groups. Do you have to put one in?
Absolutely not.
Correct. Very good. Thank you. Last one is, let's clear up the confusion, I think, still around what setting do you have to have in the service code itself to be able to pull modifiers in? And then what's the difference between the setting you're going to show in just a moment versus the modifier group?
So the setting that you must have on for modifiers is procedure info. This is where modifiers live inside the timesheet. Now there's only optional or not needed. So in this case, you would do optional. All right. So any service codes that are going to now have modifiers, please make sure that this is set to optional inside your service code.
Perfect. And if you put a modifier on this page right up there, what is this doing? Just a reminder for everybody.
Yeah. So this is more of what we like to say suggestions of modifiers. So let me go back to my RVT here. So if I was going to convert this here, and if I had put a modifier in that service code where you saw it, you would click show modifiers and use suggested modifiers would show up here, and they would have to click that to pull it in. So it's just another training that you would have to provide your RVTs during conversion. So just keep that in mind. If it's built inside the service code, they would have to use suggested modifiers. If it was linked to the fee schedule, they would just pick the fee schedule that pulled in that modifier.
Perfect. And then lots of questions on what if I have multiple modifiers? So let's say, for example, I have the educational based modifiers, my HM, HN, HP, so on, HO, and I need to use a 95 or a GT. How do we get multiple modifiers in there?
Awesome, great question. So if you have multiple modifiers, so if I need to add a modifier group for telehealth, let's say this one is for my RVT, right? You can put that 95 and you can put that, I think they are HN.
It's usually HM or HN, it depends. Yeah. Each pair is a little different, but yes, right. You can use up to 4 per.
Yes, so if you do need to separate it by credential, just go ahead and make sure you list what credential that modifier is for. That way they can pick it based on who they are converting the appointment.
And we had several questions about order, and order doesn't matter.
Order does not matter.
Yeah. And then finally, there was a couple questions, just a reminder here, the date range that's starting, ending. I just want to let people know here that that is for the code itself. So whatever the code is, in this case, 97151, if you hit a start and end date there, it is not based upon the modifier groups. It's based upon the code there and the rate structure. So you cannot use that in conjunction with this. After all of this is done, as Jean was talking about, you'd have to dismantle it. Now, if you continue to do this practice, you know, for example, let's say you get an update to your contract and you continue to do this, which can be a great opportunity, obviously, maybe you don't even need to remove it. So it would vary, obviously, depending on how you're setting it up. But those are some of the questions we had that I just wanted to cover real quick. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah. No, thank you. Some great questions. All right. So we will have another stop for questions in a bit. So let's just move on to this next option real quick. We're going to go over how to create a new service code for telehealth, setting up that new code with default rates and custom rates, adding telehealth modifier if needed, adding the codes to an existing authorization, or you may need to create a new one depending on your payer. And then this is more of like the steps you would take. You would need to update any appointments with that new telehealth code that are maybe reoccurring. and then auditing those telehealth codes when you're getting ready to bill. So let's go ahead and head in here real quick. So once again, we're going to go to the billing sign and service codes. We are going to click this blue add new button up here. Now I'm going to keep the code the same. The difference here is that I'm going to go ahead and put telehealth in all caps, followed by my description, which I have here. All right, so really the main difference in this code and description is that I'm letting all my employees know here that it's telehealth, please use this specific one. All right, I'm leaving it to enforce my custom provider rate, and you're just going to go through and do what you originally would do for that 97151. So billing all the minutes per units. You can set your default location here if you know that they all are requiring that 02 telehealth location. It is an option. All right, make sure you go through all of this good stuff too. For the sake of time, we're not going to do that, but also if you have any note and form templates that go with that 97151 code, go ahead and make sure you link that here as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and save. Now, you have to go through the steps that you originally would when creating a new code. So we have this error here. We need to go and make sure we add our default rate. So again, I clicked the number under the default rate, or you can always use the gear sign to the right, up to you, right? I'm gonna do my actions drop down and set default rate, and I'm gonna go through the regular process that I would. Right, now if it does have modifiers, again, this is where you'll come and do that. Remember, you can also set the location here. So if you didn't want to set the location in the telehealth code itself, because not every insurance company is using that, you can set it here instead. There we are. Don't forget to name it. And any modifiers that you maybe need here. So let's go ahead and do it like we were doing RVT. All right, so if they do have modifiers, we're going to go ahead and do that here. And we're going to add. All right, so you would add as many as you need to, depending on your credentials. And now really the question is, again, going back to your payer, are they providing you more hours? Are they telling you they're giving you a whole new authorization for this telehealth service? If so, you would just create a whole new authorization specifically for telehealth. I would maybe put somewhere in that file name that this authorization is specifically for telehealth. All right, and then remember to add an authorization here. Again, we're not going to go through this step by step. If you do need any help, help.centralreach.com, and you can go ahead and enter an authorization to get that step by step. In this case, my insurance company for Miles said whatever he has left is what he's going to be able to use for telehealth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find Miles' authorization. So again, billing sign authorizations, all permission based. If you don't see it, please contact your administrator. All right, I'm going to click the page icon next to that code. All right, I'm going to add this code in with my 97, oh, sorry. We're going to say, all right, we're going to add the Telehealth Code and the 97151 together. They have to share the amounts. They provide weekly, say 4 hours, 8 units, all right? So what this means is that whatever my client has already worked for the original 9715 code throughout the authorization, they have to share whatever is left in the utilization with 97151 for telehealth, okay? Another step here that you shouldn't forget is when you're doing these service codes, let's go back to what we're doing. Make sure that you really come in here and do all your steps. If you need to add service code labels, you know, billable, RVT, payroll, all that good stuff. Don't forget to do that here as well. And then linking your employees to the codes so you can, so they can use it. So I do need to go add Caroline real quick. So I'm gonna add a custom rate so she can use this specific code, because remember, we're creating a whole new one. We have to go through that whole process again, all right? So when I'm going to Caroline's calendar here, I'm going to create a new event for her and Miles. Again, this is completely up to you guys. If you want to do telehealth here, you can also create scheduling labels for telehealth for easy pull-up when you guys are auditing. You can set the location here too if you didn't want to set it in the service code or the fee schedule. And then we need to make sure that we use this one right here, telehealth, okay? And I want to note something else too. If you come to the authorization, you can actually put some notes here. So if you want to put like anything like make sure you are clicking the one for telehealth or anything like that, they will see that when adding the service code to the appointment. So it's just another thing in your face to really pay attention to the code that you're picking. So if you wanted to, you know, right here, if you are using doing telehealth services, please use the telehealth code, right? So it's just something to mention, a little tip here, all right? So then we can create the appointment. Not gonna go through the conversion process. Actually, let's go through the conversion process so I can show you guys what that looks like in the billing side. All right, let's go here to billing. Now, also something to remember, if they do have any reoccurring appointments, you guys are going to need to update it with the new telehealth code that you just created. You can either go through the appointments and do it one by one. If you guys wanted to, you know, make update one to do it for the whole series, you can too. Just up to you guys on how you want to address deletions and all that good stuff for your reporting purposes, okay? So let's come here to the billing. Now I see that big word telehealth. So that's the difference in choosing to create a new service code and to just add a modifier here. The reporting will clearly show you that this is a telehealth service. I got my 02 telehealth location because this payer specifically required it. Now I can go see my modifiers. $95 in HM, right? Now, when this is all said and done, what you can do, instead of going into the authorization and messing with anything in the authorization, we always recommend not to delete anything in authorizations. Once it's deleted, unfortunately, it cannot be brought back. And for recording purposes, we would like everything to kind of stay inside the authorization. So what you should do in this case is come here to service codes, select that telehealth code that you just created, scroll down, click delete, and boom, it's gone. Except nothing ever really is gone in this service code grid. So if you click this active dropdown, you can go to deleted and you'll see it here again, and you can always bring it back if needed to, right? But now since I deleted that service code, what I can go do is show you what it would look like. They wouldn't have the option to pick it. And if you wanted to create an appointment type for telehealth too, you're more than welcome to. That way they don't have to type it in every time. Again, that is up to your organization and your workflow, right? So now I don't even see that telehealth code anymore. So that is how you would end that. And your utilization would still be intact. It's still on your authorization. It's just not as an option for them to pick when they are going to make a schedule, all right? Now, when it's all said and done, again, if you have any reoccurring appointments that you put the telehealth code on with, you're going to need to also change that as well. Don't forget, you always have your view as grid here, a good source to audit all your appointments that are going on. You can always audit for any of those that currently have that code, right? And something I did want to mention, if you are creating a whole new authorization, a good rule of thumb here that I would like to mention would be to expire the one that was your original authorization. Expire it to the day before or 2 days before that telehealth went into place, and start the new authorization from when they allowed you to start those services. That way your employees won't have the original authorization as an option when they're going to schedule. It just helps with less error during scheduling. And when this is all said and done, what you can do is reinstate that old authorization back to its original expiration date, and then expire the telehealth one. Remember, we don't delete anything with authorizations. It's always best to just expire it, bring it back when you need it, okay? So to expire it, you will have to go here, click the edit icon next to the group, expire it to whatever it needed to be. Remember, I said mine started March 20th, so let's do March 19th. So I would expire all the groups of codes here to March 19th. And then when telehealth is all said and done, I would come back here and reinstate it to its original expiration date. Okay, so those are the two options that we have. So let's go ahead and go through the pros for this one as well. So the pros here is that employees will not have to pick a fee schedule upon conversion like we did with the modifier setup. Easier reporting. So again, we had the telehealth in the name, so it was a little bit easier to see when we're going through our billing cycle here. All right, and creating the code referencing telehealth in the name will help the code stand out. Remember, when we were scheduling, we saw the option to have telehealth. It was in big letters, so it was easy for any schedulers, or if your RVTs are scheduling their own, they'll be able to see that telehealth name while they're creating those appointments. Some cons: it's a little bit longer of a setup process. It requires updating authorizations or creating new ones. It requires updates to existing appointments. The breakdown could be a little bit lengthier, and after all, you will need to undo and delete the telehealth service code, fix any authorizations that were changed, and update any existing appointments back to the original code. So some things to think about. Again, this is all going to go with how your payers and how your organization best sees fit. So please reach out to your payers, talk with your team, see what works for you all, and then make that decision from there. All right, and now we are going to stop with some more questions. So Adam, if you have any that you see stand out, let's go ahead and talk about those.
Yeah, a couple that kind of stood out. There's several questions about, the modifiers being pulled into the timesheets and that stuff. Would you mind going back to the live system, please?
Yeah. Would you like me to go to the main account, or would you like me to go to my RVT here?
Oh, the main account, because I'd like to see the billing screen. Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Okay, so first one obviously is a billing entry. Don't forget, is the same thing as a timesheet, everyone. So the two screens, remember, same data. So everybody was asking, so how do I see them? Where are they, et cetera? So where in the billing entry or the timesheet is the modifier living?
All right, so if we go into the timesheet, remember, you have to have procedure info set to optional. So if you're creating a new code, make sure that is set. If you are adding a modifier to an already created service code, please make sure that you turn it on if it is off, and it lies here under modifiers. So if you don't see that option, it's most likely because your procedure info is set to not needed.
Perfect. And then also wanted to reiterate, if you want to stay right there for just a second, is that there are lots of questions about, well, when I go to make a claim, where's the data coming from? So don't forget, inside the billing entry here, the modifier and the POS code come from this as a line of data on the billing screen. So this sets the default settings for when the system goes to make the claim. Now, it doesn't mean you can't change it, obviously, but this is where the system starts. So if the timesheet has the data, when you go to make the claim will have this as a starting point. There was one comment, somebody was talking about Magellan. Magellan said they want the order differently. They want the HNHOHP to come before the 95. Once again, if a payer specifically gives you those instructions, please make sure you follow them. So all of this always under the umbrella of what does your payer want you to do? Hold on, I'm just kind of scanning through the remaining questions. Questions about, so when you deactivate the code, what happens to everything on the billing screen? And so the reminder there, please everyone, is don't forget the billing screen is historically accurate. It contains this data based upon the instant in time this was converted. So if it was converted like this is how it stays forever unless somebody physically comes into this entry and manually updates the entry. So that's how the system works on all that. Also, when you deactivate the service code, so in the instance where you're following this methodology and you want to add a new service code, you go to the authorization, you add it. Well, what happens when you delete it? Well, once again, everything here that already used that code, those modifier groups, etc., stays just like it is. And then when you go to convert, remember, we can only convert a code that is a valid code. That's why just simply deleting the code is such an efficient way to remove this from that schedule so that it cannot be converted. Now, doesn't mean that somebody else is not going to have to pick a different code. Like if you had the code for telehealth in the appointment and you delete the code, well, when somebody goes to convert that appointment and you've told the system that code's no longer valid, then what will happen is the user will have to pick a code. So please bear in mind that you want to go update the schedules, as Janine was mentioning, if you use that methodology.
This one was converted, but they will receive an error, like right here where you see this error, they will receive some sort of error letting them know that there has been a deletion somewhere. So it's really important to put that in your process when you are creating the new code. Go to the view as grid and filter for any of the original code and go ahead and change them to the new telehealth one. And then when you delete the code, again, like Adam was saying, everything stays the same. So remember, we deleted our telehealth code, but I still have it here on my view as grid screen. So just filter for that deleted service code and then make the adjustments again. All right.
Excellent. Last couple ones, if we could go back to the service codes, please. Yep. So modifier groups. So if you go to the fee schedule, yeah, so here, so reminder here, there's several questions about, hey, well, how does the modifier group pull to the billing entry, the timesheet? So the way it works is by default, if there is only one, CentralReach always pulls it. So we just always pull it. What happens when we have more than one modifier group is that's when the user is prompted for a choice. So when Janine goes to convert and she's seeing home, office, school, telehealth as options, it's because she built these 4 options here. And that's why we're seeing those 4 choices. So one modifier group, no choice needs to be made. System just automatically inserts it. So for example, if I universally just need telehealth, HN95, O2, etc., you could set that up underneath the singular code and it would continue to do that until you changed it. But that's where the choice comes from. So when we're thinking about the methodology of, well, why would I do it this way, would be, well, let's say we are providing different types of services in different areas. This is a very easy, fast way to set up for home, office, school, and telehealth simultaneously, and then have the end user, as they convert, say what they're doing. Now, do we need to use all 4 of those? No. What if you only do home and telehealth? Then just use those 2 options. So different options here for setup. As Janine will mention in a few minutes, there are open office hours that they have set up specifically for telehealth. Sorry, I'm stealing a little thunder there.
Take it.
I just want to make sure that people are aware that we are aware that there are, it's probably about 8 to 10 different ways to do this. We're really just trying to highlight these 2 methodologies and kind of say what they are. And there will be some help articles that are going to follow this and everything that we've already built. It's basically videos, and you'll get this video as well. There are lots of questions. Are you going to get the video? Of course you are. So just want to reiterate that if you want to go through specifically and you have all of the stuff for your payers need to do, and you want to go through that with somebody with CentralReach and kind of have them help you set up specifically, there are options for that as well. That's about the majority of it.
Awesome.
There
Any questions
was,
we did not get to, we also will answer via email, so don't forget that.
yes.
All right. And don't forget, you can also get in contact with your customer success lead about any questions as well. If you are unsure of who that is, you can always open a support ticket, escalate it to us, and our support team would love to help you find out who that is and get you in touch with them. All right, Adam, anything else you would like to mention before I move on to some other slides real quick?
No, thank you so much. Fantastic job.
No problem. Thank you. All right. Okay, so if you are new to CR, or if you just want to learn a little bit more about what we have to offer, then we suggest going to centralreach.com, and you can actually book a live demo and learn about more of our features and what we have to offer for you guys, all right? And if you are already a CentralReach customer and you just need a little bit more help with setting this all up, don't forget you can go to help.centralreach.com, type in the subject that you're looking for, and we will prompt you with some help articles and some pre-recorded webinars, if there are some, on the step-by-steps on how to accomplish those. And as Adam was mentioning before, we do have some one-on-one virtual Genius Boosts. And we have designated some slots just specifically for telehealth. So you will see an option to register for telehealth Genius Boosts. And the Genius Boosts are really great. They are, again, one-on-one. They're HIPAA compliant. You will be live with a CR expert, and they will be recorded. You have about 25 minutes to talk through anything that you need to talk through. And we will provide you with some steps and best practices. We do ask, if you do come to these Genius Booths for telehealth, to have some information from your payers already with you. That way we can better help you with your questions in the short amount of time that we have with you on those Genius Booths. So just something to mention there. If you do have some specific payers with specific things, we can always help you with that. Just come prepared with those. Right. And something to mention here, we are doing a telehealth certification that is coming soon. For a limited time, it's going to be free. A little bit of a background on certifications within the CR Institute. So we generate and build these courses, and each course is its own separate topic. And with the certifications, we create a learning path with tons of courses on different subjects that relate to the certification. And in those courses, you'll see content, step-by-steps, videos, GIFs. Some of them have interactive activities. There's quizzes at the end of each course. And then in the certification as a whole, you also will get a big assessment at the end, going through everything that you learned through those courses, and just really testing your knowledge to see if you were able to retain all the information that we were putting out there. And then once you pass that big assessment, you will actually get to book a live meeting with a CentralReach expert on the topic, and you will have to prove that you were able to retain that knowledge with you showing us everything that we went through in those courses. So, you know, today we would have you show us, how do you add a modifier group? How do you add it to an authorization? Things in that nature, really just so you can get the clicks and that showing us that you really were able to retain all that knowledge. And then once you pass that, you are CR certified, all right? So for a limited time, it will be free. We will be sending emails out on that shortly, so look out for those. All right, and thanks for joining. Again, if you didn't get your question answered, we will be answering them via email after this is done, and you guys will be provided with this recording. So if there's anything that you missed, or you maybe need a little refresher, we do have this coming to you through email as well. Don't forget, you can always get in touch with your customer success lead as well. And we also have those telehealth web Genius Boosts provided for you too, and help.centralreach.com. So everybody, please stay safe, take care of yourselves, take care of your family. We all love you and we are excited to help you on this telehealth journey. Thank you, everyone.